This week I went game hunting to 5 different places, so come along with me to see what I could find and if anything was actually worth picking up this week. Starting off, it is Monday. Back behind me is the Cash America Pawn, and then off that way is the Restore Rack. So let's head into both these places and see what we can find. So I made my way into this Cash America Pawn shop, which was the first place we had to go this week, and I wandered in, and honestly, I hate to break it to you, but I didn't really find much here, which is a big bummer. There were a bunch of consoles and stuff there, but just nothing that was worth picking up. So I left there pretty quickly and headed over to the Restore Rack, which was right next door to that. And I made my way back towards the back, where I ended up finding these empty Pokemon boxes. They caught my eye, but for 25 bucks, these were definitely not worth it. And since I was already over here, I looked through these little bags, which occasionally have Pokemon plush in them. But I ended up finding this beat up looking Charmander, which was just not worth the $10 they wanted. As well as I saw this little Pikachu kind of plush head, but again, it was too expensive to grab the whole bag. So I made my way back to the very back, where I ended up looking through the game section, and that's when I ended up finding Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock for the Xbox 360. And you know, anytime we find disc-based games, you gotta grab them and double check that they are in the case. But ultimately, for the first day, all I ended up grabbing was Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock. For only $2, I thought this was definitely worth it. Now, it was missing the manual, but the game is in there and it is good in good condition. So for only $2, I ended up picking this up because it's worth around $12 to $15 in the current condition. So far we ended up finding one game this week, but let's hope we can find some more at the next place. Currently it is Wednesday and we are headed into an antique mall that I don't go to very often, purely because I really often don't find stuff. So this place is called Generations Antique Mall. So let's head in there and hope we can find something good that'll make it worth the trip. So I made my way into Generations Antique Mall, which is an antique mall in my area, but honestly, the last few times I've come in here, I really haven't found anything worth it, and today may not be any different. I found this Xbox 360 Connect, but it didn't have a price tag, and anytime you find something here and there's no price tag, they can't sell it to you, which is a complete bummer, so I continued on, where I found a few Xbox 360 games here on this shelf. However, they were not games that I was any interested in picking up, to be quite frank with you, so I continued on down this hallway, where I stumbled into this booth where I did end up finding Wipeout, which is another Xbox 360 Connect game. I'm catching on to a trend here, and it's just Xbox 360 Connect games. But then I ended up finding 2 or 3 PS4 games here, and honestly, nothing that was worth it either. I did see these little Mario Kart figures, and I thought, if I find some games, I might come back for these because they were only $3 each, but I didn't, so I didn't pick those up, unfortunately. I found this little bin here that had a few games in it, but they were definitely picked through. These games have been here for a while. Oh, and did I mention I keep finding sports games? No, I didn't, but now I am, because I found 2 Xbox 360 sports games here, and if you haven't noticed, this place has basically only had the cheapest of Xbox 360 games, which doesn't surprise me, but I figured I'd look anyways. And again, more Xbox 360 games. This one was a little priced too much, so I left that behind. And last but not least here, I ended up finding a bunch of cool like pins that were enamel, but nothing that was worth my time or worth picking up. So unfortunately, this antique mall was definitely not worth going to, which I kind of expected. I haven't gone to this one in a while because the last like 5 times that I've gone, it's basically had nothing in it. So I should have had better judgment and gone to Next Generations, which is a better antique mall that we're not going to go to this week, but in the next week or two, I'm definitely planning to go there. But I kind of took this as a risk and was hoping to find something, and sadly I didn't. So hopefully on Friday we can find some good stuff. All right, let's go ahead and head into Yester Play Collectibles and Nichols Books now. I think we can find some good stuff, but we'll have to check it out. It's Friday, so hopefully we can end this week out by finding some good stuff. So I made my way into Yester Play Collectibles and search, hoping to find some games that I didn't already have. I checked out the Xbox 360 section, and you know how this video is going. I didn't find any Xbox 360 things that were worth it there. Checked out the Xbox One, the PS5, PS4 section, the PS1, PS2, and PS3 section. And then I made my way to the Wii section, where I actually ended up finding something that was interesting to me and a game I want to play. But first off, I found a few Guitar Hero games, then Mario Party 8, New Super Mario Bros. Wii, as well as a few other games here like this Kirby's Epic Yarn. Made my way to the glass display case where I was kind of hoping to find something that caught my eye, but nothing really is jumping out at me that I don't already have or that is worth grabbing. Now, honestly, I feel like this is about what it was like the last time. Every time I come in here, this has changed, but it's been a while, and I don't think they've changed much, which is okay. I understand, but I'll have to come back here pretty soon once they get a new fresh shipment in. But overall, I kind of looked through. That was pretty cool to see in the box. And then I looked through this glass case a little bit more, hoping for something that I didn't already have. But ultimately, nothing here except for one game that I will show you at the end. And then I made my way to Nichols Used Books, which is a bookstore in my area that also happens to sell video games, which is pretty cool. First thing that I saw that caught my eye was that Metroid Samus Returns for the 3DS, which I ended up grabbing. I looked through the glass case again, looking for stuff, but I didn't really end up finding anything here. There were a bunch of Switch games down there, but I already have those games that were interesting. So I made my way back to the back where they have a bunch of other video games. I made my way through the PS2 section. Need for Speed Most Wanted probably is my favorite Need for Speed game, but comment down below and let me know what your favorite Need for Speed games are. But then I checked out the PS3, and then I made my way to the PS4 section, where I ended up finding this weird game called Cloudpunk, which I thought about picking up, but ultimately ended up passing on that. But right next to it was this game called Concrete Genie, which I use a PSVR game to play it. This game looks absolutely incredible, so I ended up seeing this for 11 bucks and ended up grabbing that for sure. Then I checked out the rest of the PS4 games here. A few games here and there that caught my eye, but nothing I absolutely had to grab, which is okay. Honestly, I feel like the last time I was here, most of these PS4 games were here, so not too upset about that. A few PSP games there as well. I made my way to the Xbox One section where I looked at it a bunch, and then I made my way to the Xbox 360, and ever since that restore rack, I've kind of struck out on Xbox 360 games. If that was in its own case, I might have picked it up, but the rest of these games I either have or I'm not really interested in, as well as the Wii games down below there. So I ended up grabbing Concrete Genie, which I thought was a pretty interesting looking game. For only 11 bucks, this was definitely well worth picking up. So there you have it. I went to Nichols Books, which is a used bookstore that sells video games, and you saw me pick up this weird game called Concrete Genie. You have to have the PSVR to play it, and I think this is going to be one of those weird and wacky games that I play on the PS4 and absolutely love. So for 11 bucks, I had to grab this. And then I ended up seeing this Metroid Samus Returns. It is complete for 35 bucks. I figured I would grab this and it would definitely be well worth it. So that was a good pickup. And then while I was at Yester Play Collectibles, they had a ton of games, but nothing really jumped out at me except this Ghostbusters, the video game for the Wii. Now, I've wanted to play this game for a really long time, and it uses the Wii motion to play the game, which looks absolutely awesome. And unfortunately, I have a copy of this game, but it is complete, and it is sealed. So I didn't want to open that seal. So when I saw this for $8, I knew I just absolutely had to have it. And it is complete there, which is totally cool. So I'm glad that I grabbed that. But honestly, this week I only found 4 games. Now, you guys see me go out and find some crazy stuff sometimes, and I figured this was a great time to just show you what an average week looks like. I ended up buying 4 games that were not expensive at all. The most I spent was $35 on a 3DS game, and then the rest of these games were like $10 or below. So with all that being said, I want this video to show you that you can still go out game hunting and find some good stuff. Now, I went to 5 different places, and 2 of those didn't have anything at all, but the other 3 actually ended up having some good stuff. So if you've got places like this in your area, go out, go game hunting, be consistent, and you'll find some good stuff. But enough about that. I found some cool stuff. I wanted to show it to you. I didn't want to make this over-the-top ridiculous video, but I still wanted to show you what I got this week. So that is everything that I picked up. So I'm going to get out of here. So go ahead and check that video out if you haven't already. But I'm kind of on the fence. I think this Metroid Samus Returns is going to be a ton of fun, but this Concrete Genie game just looked weird, and I cannot wait to play this Ghostbusters game. So comment down below what you thought about these pickups, but I've got to get out of here, so check that video out if you haven't already.